My neighbors don't want to discipline their children for insistently ringing my doorbell and eating my fruits, so I called the cops when I saw them harvesting my berries. I moved into a detached townhouse a few months ago. My driveway is right next to the neighbors. It is big enough to fit 2 regular-sized cars, and halfway down my driveway, there's a path leading around my house. On the side of the path is my house. On the other side is about 3 meters of yard, and that's mine. Since moving in, I've had issues with the neighbors using my driveway for parking, turning their cars, storing other stuff, and playing. Asking them to stop using it and keep their items on their property has not worked, so I placed a few large plants and installed a camera and a no trespassing sign, which helped a bit. At least the cars are gone. I've been working from home the last few weeks, but the neighbors' kids are making that hard. They're about 5 and 7 boys, and they keep ringing my doorbell multiple times a day to ask if they can play with my dog, if I want to play with them, or anything else they can think of. I asked them to stop it so I could work, which, of course, didn't work, so I asked their parents and was told boys would be boys, and they wouldn't do anything about it. To keep my sanity intact, I removed the battery from the doorbell. Still, they kept running around in my front yard, on the path around the house, banging on my windows and doors, and trying to open the gate to my backyard this morning as they heard me in there. I once again asked them to stop and told them I would not allow them to play with the dog anymore if they kept this up and left, sending over their dad. I told him to keep the boys away from my property and door. If not, I'd be planting some prickly bushes to teach them to stay away from other people's property and shut the door in his face. Update. About a week after my post, I planted a wall of blackberries and raspberries at the 2 sides of my garden facing the driveway, about 30 centimeters from the edge, so no overhanging branches. I planted many things like strawberries and tomatoes on the other side of the berry wall. To reach the tomatoes and strawberries from the driveway, you have to either go through the fruit bushes or walk up to my house, walk about 2 meters along the side of the house and my windows and then walk into my actual garden. Not something you do by mistake. For about 2 weeks, it was somewhat quiet, but I still found the kids in my driveway every day. As far as I know, they did not enter the garden, and I hadn't noticed them walking around my house anymore, so I figured the bushes were working. About 1 week ago, berry season started. My bushes are now full of raspberries, and there are many strawberries. The neighbors noticed. First, I caught the boys picking and eating raspberries, so I told them off and dropped them off at home, told their mom I caught them stealing and that I'd call the cops next time. She huffed and told me to grow up but took the boys inside anyway. After that, it was quiet until yesterday afternoon, when I went out for a while and found the dad and his 2 sons right in the middle of my garden when I returned, clearing my bushes and plants. I didn't even confront them. I just called the cops from a distance, as they hadn't noticed me yet, and started filming them after making the call. Luckily, 2 cops showed up after 10 minutes and confronted the neighbor while still picking berries. They told them they were trespassing, that the berry picking was considered stealing, and that I could press charges. For the first time, I noticed a bit of fear in my neighbor. He was having trouble finding his words and kept looking back at his house, I guess hoping his wife would show up to yell at the cops. They all went inside with the cops, so I also went home. After a while, the cops asked if I wanted to press charges. I asked them if they felt scared by the neighbor enough to stay away. I got a small smile and yes about him, but the wife had just kept shouting at them and her husband about the little beach living next door. I told them no for now, and asked them if I'd be allowed to get an extra camera set up on the wall between my garden and the road to cover the entire front garden plus driveway. They said that's allowed as long as it's on my side of the wall. So, now I'm getting an extra camera installed. One neighbor knows I'm done messing around, but his wife isn't there yet. If I ever catch any of them again, the cops will be called, and possible charges will follow.